Hello, Keith Rucker at VintageMachinery.org. Guys, going to do another odds and ends video for you here. This is always a mixture of different topics, mostly new items that come into the shop, whether it be viewer mail or new purchases, interesting things, what have you. So we're not going to be any machining content or anything like that in this episode, but we will be showing you some pretty cool tools and some pretty cool things that we've received in the shop over the last couple of weeks. So things are starting to stack up, so let's go through here and show you the new toys for the shop. All right, so first couple items here come from my good friend and buddy Mike Wiggins, who has the Backyard Machine Shop. The Backyard Machine Shop's another YouTube channel. Mike is also into machine restoration, runs a little machine shop in his backyard. He works professionally as a CNC machinist, but when he comes home to work in his home shop, he likes playing with the old manual machines, and most of his machines are indeed quite old. He really likes the flat belt powered stuff. And anyway, Mike's been a friend of mine for many, many years, and he sent me a couple of items. First is some t-shirts that he had made up, and this is a old 748, and what this is his Pratt & Whitney model 748 metal lathe that he restored, and on the back he's got a picture of his of the 748, as well as a little slogan here, making machines great again. Wonder where he got that idea from. Anyway, neat little t-shirt, and I think he had some of these made up that if you're interested in one, you can contact Mike over at the Backyard Machine Shop. You can check out his YouTube channel. And in addition to that, we did a little collaborative project with another buddy of mine, Tom Utley. Tom's been doing some tag restoration work and doing some artwork for some different machinery tags. In the process of that, he did the artwork for the Kearney and Trecker logo, and Mike was able to get that. And where he works at, they've got a print shop where they can make this the banners and stuff. So they had some of these K&T banners made up, and I was lucky enough to get one to hang up on the wall in my shop, which I think is really cool because I've got a K&T 2H horizontal mill machine. I love K&T machines. I'm kind of on the lookout, been kind of on the lookout for a little bit larger K&T. I'd like to probably try to find me like either a 3K or a 4H model, which is about 2 sizes bigger than the one I've got, just to be able to do some larger work. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, this is going to go up as some shop wall art in the shop. And again, Mike had these made up. I'm sure some of you guys are going to say, hey, I'd like to have one of those. Again, contact Mike. I'm not sure that he's really wanting to get into the selling a bunch of these, but if you are interested, I'm sure he can hook you up. They can probably make a few more. And so again, just contact Mike over at the Backyard Machine Shop. So there's the first 2 items. Sometime back, I shared with you guys this little wrench right here that was made over at the Hand Tool Rescue YouTube channel. This was modeled after an antique style wrench. And when I showed that a little bit later, about a couple of weeks ago, I received in the mail an original wrench of this style, and this was sent to me by Pete Fletcher, who is in Yorkshire, United Kingdom. And this is what they call a bicycle spanner. These were real common when people would carry them around with their bicycles and so forth. King Dick was the company that made that. And anyway, this was one that he had picked up over there and said I needed to have the pair. So anyway, this is pretty cool. But anyway, now I've got a nice, very well nicely done reproduction wrench made by Hand Tool Rescue, and I have an original one, a little bit smaller size to go here. So I guess I'm now a collector of this style wrenches, right? I have 2 of them, so that makes me a collector. Anyway, this is pretty neat. So Pete, I want to thank you very much for sending that along. I got a nice piece of a nice tool here from the United Kingdom, and this makes a nice little pair. So again, thank you very much, Pete, for sending that in. So up next, I got another item that made it all the way across the ocean here. This little book here from Brian Harding, who is over in Scotland in the United Kingdom, and he sent along a nice copy of How to Run a Lathe. This is a very, I wouldn't say common, but it's something you see out there. There's still a bunch of these around, but it's a book made by South Bend. This one here was copyrighted back in 1928. I don't know if there's a actual printing date on this one. I don't see one, but it is pretty old. But this was sent over to me, and there's several different versions of this one. This one here actually is neat though, because it shows a lot of the lathes from here are actually the line shaft powered machines, and showing how to deal with the belts and all that kind of stuff. But really good book if you're just getting a lathe and wanting to get the basics. I mean, it talks about pretty much from start to finish. It talks about the tools that you use in the machine shop, kind of introduces you to different concepts of different types of turning, and then you start actually doing different turning jobs and so forth. It's almost set up as a course in how to use a metal lathe. So this is, again, if you're interested in a book like this, there are actually copies. In fact, I think we have a scanned copy of it up on my website at VintageMachinery.org. I'd have to double check. But I know there are digitized versions of this out there on the internet that you can download and read. And if you want to find one, they're fairly easy to come by on eBay, used bookstores, and so forth like that. In fact, I've got a couple of these, but I don't have an older version like this one, so I'm kind of excited to have this one because it's interesting to look at different versions of this over the years. I think this is the oldest version of this, and I've only got maybe one or two different copies of this. This is the oldest version of it, which is kind of neat for me. So Brian, thanks very much for sending that along. I will definitely put this in the library, and definitely enjoy looking through it. I always learn something from these old books. I know I've shown indicator repair several times in videos, but every time I do, I get more and more questions about, hey, who's that guy you send your indicators and tools to get rebuilt? And I thought I'd share this again. So I sent another batch of indicators up to Mark Rotowski at MR Tool Repair, and if you want to get a hold of Mark, there's his contact information right there on your screen where you can write it down. His email address, phone number, address, all that good information. And you can, I would recommend that you email him first and let kind of talk to him, find out what he's got. But send stuff up to Mark if you got any old tools that need work. He does a really great job. I was fortunate enough some time back that I literally got a box full of old indicators that were just, they weren't working, and I bought them at an auction somewhere or a swap meet, I don't remember. I got them dirt cheap because they weren't working, and at the time my thought was I'd just have them for parts and so forth. And then I found Mark, and I've been slowly sending these to him and letting him rebuild them, and I've been building up my collection of different style of indicators and so forth, and this is the latest batch. So these are kind of neat. I got some of these in different stem lengths, so if you need to reach down into an area to indicate off of, these are kind of cool. This is just a regular 1-inch travel dial indicator, and this one is a bore gauge, so it's for going down inside of a hole, and you can put it around and it will actually read in there. You would calibrate this to basically where 0 is what you're shooting for. You would adjust this screw on the back. I got a whole bunch of these different screws for different lengths, and you got these little spring-loaded pieces here that kind of centered up in the hole, and it will read. And again, it's not for making a direct measurement, but for once you get one of these calibrated, you can use it as a test gauge to see how close you are to your target, if you're above or below your bore. And I picked up a set of these in different sizes. I think I got 5 different sizes of these. This is the second one that I've gotten him Mark to restore. So anyway, again, I'll show you those, and I've got another box of indicators that I'm sending up Mark's way, and I think that the box I got sending him, and maybe one more after that, and I'll be caught up on my indicators finally. I've been sending him indicators now for probably 2 years, trying to get them all done a little bit at a time. So anyway, another great job by Mark Rotowski at MR Tool Repair. So if you need some work done, get a hold of Mark. He does a great job, very fairly priced. So we'll talk to, just holler at him, and he'll take good care of you. Next items here, a couple of antique store finds. I was down in Florida a couple of weeks ago and stopped at a little antique mall when I had some time and found 2 neat little items. So the first one here, this is a ramming tool used in a foundry. This is actually what they call a floor rammer. So if you're ramming up a mold, a sand mold on the ground, you could basically stand up and be able to do this. And it has 2 different heads. One of them is kind of a wedge shape for getting down and really packing in. You got a flat one on this side. Cast iron pieces with a wooden handle. Nice original part here. paid $50 for it. At the time, I thought it was a little bit on the high side, but it was cool. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to buy it. And I actually talked to some of my foundry friends after that who said, no, that's actually a really good deal. These are kind of hard to come by. So I was kind of excited about that. And the other item I picked up was a little Greenfield tap and die number 6 tap handle, and this one here, it needs to be cleaned up a little bit. In fact, this might be a restoration project. Mechanically it works fine, it's just kind of a little bit rusty, but paid $10 for that, which I thought was a good deal, and picked that up as well. So anyway, I thought I'd share those with you. Next item here is a neat little item I picked up from Jason at Fireball Tools, and Jason makes all kinds of really cool shop items, really kind of with the fabricator in mind. I saw Jason out at FabTech back in November, and he showed me this, and I said, you know what, I got to get a set of those, and I'm glad to have them. So this is really neat. So he designed this really more with a fabricator in mind, and I'm more of a machinist than a fabricator, although I do a little bit of fabricating. But what these are fractional size blocks that are to a certain length. You can kind of think of these as gauge blocks for a fabricator. They're not in thousandths of inches, but they're in fractional inches. I think these are 1 inch. I'd have to measure them, maybe what, 3/4, 5/8. Again, I'd have to measure them. I don't remember what all the sizes are. But what's cool about these is he put these rare earth magnets in here. So if you're working on something, you can literally just go, you know, stick this to the steel and it will hold itself in place. So if you got something on the side or whatever. And what these are great for when you're welding or fabricating is offsets and stuff. If you got an offset and you need a constant offset, you can just stick this to the metal and it will offset it correctly, and you can go in there and weld it. Now, what I was interested in the machine shop, maybe not precision gauge blocks per se, these are pretty darn close to the sizes they're supposed to be, but always doing setups and all kinds of things, you just need some spacers every now and then. In fact, when I got this, I've already used this set once when I was doing something over on my arbor press, and I needed a little spacer to go back in there to hold up a piece, and I said, you know, I need something to go in there that's the right size. What have I got laying around here? I remember that I just gotten this from Jason, and I went over there and pulled out a couple of these spacers and used it. So anyway, a very handy thing. So go check out Fireball Tools at fireballtool.com. They've got this. They also make those awesome little squares that I use all the time in the shop, and he's got all kinds of other neat tools out there. So, and Jason is also very active over on the YouTube community. He has a YouTube channel, posts a lot over on Instagram and so forth. So check out Jason at Fireball Tools, and if you're interested in a set of these, you can check out his website and order you a set. I'm glad to have mine, and like I said, I've already used them. Next items here is a set of precision ground bench stones, and these, of course, you see they're Norton India oil stones, but these are special. These aren't just off the shelf bench stones. What these are, they've been precision ground so that both sides of this stone, like I said, it's been on the surface grinder and ground with a diamond wheel, so these things are perfectly flat on either side. You got two different grits, and these things are just awesome for all kinds of jobs. If you need to, you know, deburr something or, you know, take burrs off of something. We actually had a scraping class this past week with Richard King and Lance Baltzley, who's one of the guys that has taken the class multiple times and actually helps teach the class now when we have it here at my shop. He made these and brought them. I got a set from him, but these things were awesome during the class. A lot of the students actually purchased a set from Lance and brought them home with them. But when you take these and you can actually keep them flat by rubbing them to one another. When you rub these together, I mean, they're just smooth as silk. Of course, I haven't even used this set yet, but these things are great. When you're working on something and want to see how flat it is, or if there's any burrs on it, you rub it across. It's amazing what you can just feel through the stone with one of these precision ground stones versus a regular bench stone. So anyway, Lance, like I said, he actually got set up with a surface grinder with a diamond wheel. He's got a process he's using to make these, and these are actually, there's a lot of time and effort into making a set of these. This isn't just something you just go out and do. You have to have the right kind of wheels, and it takes a special setup to hold them properly and so forth. And Lance went through all that process. Really glad to have this. This is going to be a very valuable tool, particularly for my scraping, but just for really for all kinds of jobs in the shop. And if anybody's interested in getting a set of these, I think Lance is going to start selling them. And he told me I could share his email address, which is lancebaltzley@me.com. And if you're interested in the set, contact Lance. I'm not sure exactly what he's going to be charging for these. I know he made some up for the guys at the scraping class and gave us a little deal for the first batch there. But now that he's kind of made some and have a little bit more idea of what's involved in it, he's going to be making some more of these and offering for sale. So get up with Lance if you're interested in a set. But these things are great. I know. I think Robin Renzetti had a YouTube episode where he showed how he made some. If you're interested in doing your own, you can watch that. But again, it's quite involved and takes a lot of time and effort. If you don't want to go through the time and effort or just want to get a set, Lance can definitely help you out. And you know, there's a couple places that you can buy these from commercial sources, and I think a set of these costs $400 or $500. Lance price I think is going to be a lot better than that, but these things are extremely useful in the shop. So next item in here is a couple of oil cups that were sent in by James Deadman up in North Carolina. And James basically took a child's paint cup. These are spill-proof paint cups that you put paint in, the kids go in there and paint, and if they knock them over, they don't spill. Well, James took it a step further and put a little piece of PVC pipe on the bottom of these to make them even more spill-proof, because everybody knows that a machinist will spill stuff worse than a small child, particularly oil and things like that. So at least I do in my shop. So the idea here is you put some cutting oil down here, you put a little brush in here. When you're on the machine, you can go, brush some oil on there, and if it knocks over, it won't spill out. That's all sealed up here, and you got the thing in there. So as long as you don't have too much oil in there, it's not going to spill out. So pretty cool little idea on a do-it-yourself oil cup for the machine shop, and I thank James for sending me along a pair of these to use, and I will definitely get these strategically positioned around some of my machines where I don't have to go looking for an oil cup every time I start a project. Next item here comes from Jeff, and Jeff contacted me a while back and told me that he had seen my video on my Doall bandsaw that I recently picked up, and had heard me talking about having the guides to be able to run a band file, and he was not really familiar with that, but it rung a bell with him. And the reason it rung a bell with him is because he had recently been to an auction up in, that was in Savage, Minnesota, where Doall had a bandsaw division. They shut the plant down, they were selling off everything, and in that auction he bought a cabinet full of different kinds of tooling. And he found inside that cabinet 4 boxes of Doall precision band files, which is exactly what we were talking about. So let me show you what we got here. These are brand spanking new, old stock band files from Doall. And if you've never seen one of these, it runs like a bandsaw blade. It's flexible. It'll go around the wheels, but when it gets flat, of course, it turns flat. But we have file segments on here, and this basically turns into a file that you can file metal with. Very rapidly cutting metal. So he had these, had absolutely no need for them. Like I said, wasn't even sure what they were for until he saw my video, and was kind enough to offer them to me. So we now have 4 boxes of brand spanking new band files. That was something I wasn't sure that I would ever even be able to find for my shop, but Jeff was kind enough to send these down to me. So Jeff, thank you very much. I'm very excited to have these, and can't wait to get my Doall bandsaw up and going. And when I do, maybe we can do a little demonstration and show how these work. Since I do have the guides, it takes a special guide to run these that you can swap in and out on that bandsaw. And I have a full set of them for actually different size band files. So excited to have some band files to go with it now. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate it very much. Up next, we got some items that came in from Tim Miller, who Tim is up in Ohio. And Tim sent along some carbon rods. So these are solid carbon. They're like round material. You can actually machine this stuff into parts, whatever, and every now and then you have a need, or I've had a need for some before, of solid carbon. So he sent some rods of some different diameters and also sent along some plastic stock that he had laying around the shop. And I'm just going to put this stuff up over there on my shelf and have it in case I need it, because every now and then, yes, carbon comes in handy for some special jobs, some special applications where you need to make something out of that. You can use these in electrolysis. They conduct electricity. Motor bushings, or excuse me, yeah, the brushes and motors are made out of carbon. There's lots of different things, so it's nice to have some of this around. So Tim, again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Well, there you go. Another episode of Odds and Ends, some new cool stuff for the shop. Hope you enjoyed seeing some new things coming in and seeing some cool little items that we picked up around here. So, and with that, that's going to pretty much be a wrap on this episode. I want to thank everybody out there for watching. Thank all my many subscribers. As usual, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to the channel. Leave comments, all those good things, and we will catch you on the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.